Under the oppressive evening sky, the dormitory seemed engulfed in an impenetrable darkness, cocooning its inhabitants in a sinister veil that murmured of unseen horrors and whispered secrets. Within this shroud of night, Jake, a first-year student at the university, found himself ensnared by an ever-growing sense of dread, as if each passing moment drew him closer to an abyss from which there was no escape. The shadow outside his window danced like a malevolent specter, casting twisted shapes upon the walls of his room and filling his mind with whispered fears. But the shadow refused to be confined to the window pane alone. Its tendrils reached out, weaving through the dormitory corridors like a serpent stalking its prey. With every step Jake took, he could feel its icy touch upon his skin, sending shivers coursing through his veins and freezing the very marrow of his bones. It seemed to follow him everywhere, lurking in the dimly lit corners of the building and lingering behind every closed door, a silent reminder of the darkness lurking just beyond the threshold of his consciousness. Even in the light of day, the shadow's influence lingered, casting a pall over Jake's every waking moment. It whispered to him in the rustling of the leaves outside his window, its voice a sinister echo that reverberated through the depths of his soul. It spoke of forgotten nightmares and half-remembered terrors, weaving a tapestry of fear that threatened to engulf him whole. And then, one fateful night, the shadow claimed its first victim. Tom, Jake's closest friend and confidant, was taken in the dead of night, torn from his bed by unseen hands and dragged into the darkness that lurked beyond the safety of their shared dormitory room. When he returned the next morning, he was no longer the same. His eyes burned with an unholy fire, and his words dripped with venomous malice, as if he had been touched by forces beyond mortal comprehension. Faced with the loss of his friend and the encroaching darkness that threatened to consume him, Jake knew that he could no longer ignore the shadow that haunted him. With grim determination, he set out to uncover the truth behind its sinister presence, to unravel the mysteries that lay hidden within the depths of his own mind. His journey led him to places he had never dared to venture before, deep into the heart of the university's darkest secrets. He delved into forgotten archives and dusty libraries, scouring ancient tomes and deciphering cryptic manuscripts in search of answers. He sought out the guidance of wise sages and learned scholars, piecing together fragments of knowledge in his quest to unlock the secrets of the shadow that pursued him. But the more he learned, the more he realized that the shadow was not merely a figment of his imagination. It was a living, breathing entity, a manifestation of the darkest recesses of his own psyche, given form by the twisted magic that flowed through the veins of the university itself. And as he delved deeper into its mysteries, he uncovered a truth more horrifying than anything he could have imagined. One small part of a vast and ancient conspiracy that stretched back through the annals of time, a web of lies and deceit woven by those who sought to harness the power of darkness for their own nefarious purposes. And at its center stood a figure of unimaginable power and malevolence, a being of pure darkness that sought to devour the world itself. With each revelation, Jake's resolve grew stronger. He knew that he could not hope to defeat the shadow alone, but he refused to surrender to despair. Armed with the knowledge he had gained and the strength of his own indomitable will, he set out to rally others to his cause, to forge alliances with those who shared his desire to see the light triumph over the darkness that threatened to consume them all. And so, as the night stretched on and the shadow grew ever stronger, Jake stood on the brink of a battle that would determine the fate of the world itself. With courage in his heart and the fire of righteousness burning in his soul, he prepared to face his darkest fears and confront the shadow that had haunted him for so long, knowing that only by standing together could they hope to overcome the darkness that threatened to consume them all. During his restless nights, Jake would often awaken to find himself paralyzed, unable to move as if some unseen force held him in its grip. In these moments of vulnerability, he could feel the presence of the shadow looming over him, its malevolent aura suffocating him with fear. It was as though the darkness itself hungered for his very soul, seeking to claim him as its own. At times, he would catch glimpses of sinister figures lurking in the shadows, their eyes gleaming with malicious intent as they watched him from the periphery of his vision. He could sense their hunger, their thirst for his fear, and he knew that they would stop at nothing to consume him utterly. But despite the terror that gripped him, Jake refused to succumb to despair. With each passing day, his determination to uncover the truth only grew stronger, driving him to confront the darkness head-on. And though the road ahead was fraught with peril, he knew that he could not turn back, for the fate of not just himself, but the entire world, hung in the balance. And so, armed with courage and resolve, Jake plunged deeper into the heart of the mystery, prepared to face whatever horrors lay in wait. For he knew that only by confronting the darkness within himself could he hope to banish the shadow that threatened to consume them all.